Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Sciences, SOS, Bachelor of Science, Multidisciplinary, BSCM Botany. BSCM 133 Plant Ecology and Taxonomy. Block-1 Ecology and Ecological Factors. Unit-1 Introduction to Plant Ecology.
1.1 Introduction. Organisms do not live in isolation. All organisms are linked to their surroundings. The survival of an organism thus depends upon its surroundings. These surroundings of an organism constitutes are called as environment. Any change in the surroundings environment affects the growth and survival of living organisms to a significant extent. Nutrients and energy get distributed among various living components present in a particular environment. Ecology is the study of the relationship of organisms, i.e., plants, animals, microorganisms with their surroundings, environment. Ecological studies deal with the relationships of organisms with their environment. The present unit provides information about basic concepts in ecology. Expected learning outcomes. After the study of this unit, you should be able to define various terms used in ecology: environment, population, community, ecosystem, and ecosphere. Describe subdivisions of ecology. Outline differences between natural and man-made environment. Describe components of the ecosystem. Enlist characteristics of the community. Enumerate knowledge about recent developments in the field of ecology. And discuss the interrelationships between ecology and other disciplines of biology. 1.2 What is ecology? Hans Rater, 1868, gave the concept of ecology. The term ecology is derived from two words: okos meaning home and logos meaning study. The term was given by coined in 1869 by the German biologist Ernst Haeckel. Literally, it means study of home. According to him, ecology is a branch of science which deals with the study of interrelationship between living organisms and their surroundings, environment. Scientifically, ecology has been defined as study of interrelationships of organisms with their surroundings. Various other definitions have been given by other different scientists. Woodbury, 1954, defined ecology as science that investigates organisms in relation to their environment. E.P. Odum, 1969, defined ecology as the study of structure and function of nature. 1.3 History of ecology. Ever since man occupied this planet, he has been very closely linked to his surroundings. Thus, early man obtained all the basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter, from the surroundings. The Greek scholar Theophrastus, 370 to 250 BC, was the first person to introduce a scientific ecological approach to the world. He described the relationship between organisms and the environment in scientific terms. History records mention that organisms survive in natural conditions since ancient times. In the 18th century, European naturalist French Georges Buffon, 1788, introduced the concept of ecology by describing the relationship of animals to their environment in his book on natural history. Plant geographers such as Carl Ludwig Willdenow, 1765 to 1812, pointed the role of environment surroundings in the development of vegetation. A Swedish naturalist, Carl Linnaeus, 1707 to 1778, laid the grounds of modern ecology. Around 250 years ago, he studied all kinds of organisms, plants, animals, etc., as well as the types of minerals and soils. Developed a system of naming plants and animals called as binomial nomenclature. According to this system, name of each living organism consists of two parts: genera and species. Delete. The German explorer Alexander von Humboldt, 1769 1859, studied relationship of vegetation and environment during his travels to various parts of the world. He compiled his findings in his book Voyage aux Regions Equinoxiales. He described vegetation zones based on latitude and altitude. He correlated vegetation with environmental characteristics and coined the term plant association. Charles Darwin, 1809 1882, gave the theory of natural selection in his book Origin of Species. He compared the similarities and dissimilarities between species found in different regions. He attributed differences in the species to geological barriers. The theory was based on the concept of competition between species. Herbert Spencer, 1820 to 1903, was considered as the founder of social ecology, gave the concept of survival of the fittest. Most of the studies carried out in the 19th century focused on animal behavior. The contributions of delete, some renowned ecologists that delete who have contributed a lot delete to the development of ecological studies have been listed below. Ecologists and their contribution to modern ecology. Ecologists, year and contribution to field of ecology. A. Lavoisier and D. Saussure, 1734 to 1794, described the nitrogen cycle. He defined various compartments of biosphere, namely atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. Thomas Robert Malthus, 1766 to 1834, gave the concept of population. I. Geoffroy Saint-Hilaire, 1805 to 1861, gave the term ethology years before the term ecology was coined. Corneille, 1831 to 1898, gave account of vegetation and succession in book Plant Life of Danube Basin. Ernest Haeckel, 1834 to 1919, coined invented delete the term ecology for the first time in science. A. Skimper, 1856 to 1901, explained the regional flora in book Plant Geography. Alfred Russel Wallace, 1858, proposed geography of animal species. He grouped living organisms into communities. Carl Moebius, 1877, coined the term biocoenosis, meaning living community. J. Warming, 1841 to 1924, integrated morphology, physiology, taxonomy and biogeography into one branch of science. He wrote first text on plant ecology. Plant Samfund described various types of vegetation. He introduced the terms hydrophytes, xerophytes, halophytes, and mesophytes. Eugenius Warming, 1841 to 1924, emphasized role of abiotic factors and introduced term adaptation to explain behavior of species under set of environmental conditions. He is the founder of ecological plant geography. Vladimir Vernadsky, 1869 to 1939, gave the concept of biosphere. H. C. Cowles, 1869 to 1939, published books on vegetation, dynamics and ecological succession. Arthur G. Tansley, 1871 to 1955, he combined living organisms and their physical environment into one System. He gave the term ecosystem, 1936. He is the founder of British Ecological Society. Frederick E. Clemens, 1874 to 1945, published book on the Phytogeography of North America. 1905, he considered ecology as the science of community. He stated that development of plant community is a complex process, growing through different stages. V. E. Shelford, 1877 to 1968, defined ecology as science of communities. He gave the terms food web and biome. He showed interrelationship between plant and animals. Charles E. Elton, 1900 to 1991, father of animal ecology, coined the terms food chain and food cycle in book named Animal Ecology. R. Hess, 1927, wrote a book Ecological Animal Geography. G. Evelyn Hutchinson, 1903 to 1991, he is called as father of modern ecology. He gave the concept of limnology, entomology, mathematical theory of population dynamics. He introduced the concept of niche. Vladimir I. Vernadsky, 1920, detailed the idea of the biosphere and described biogeochemical cycles. Christian Ronquier, 1934, gave the concept of life form in plants. William Wheeler and Charles Carpenter, 1956, gave the concept of behavioral ecology. McFadyen, 1957, emphasized the role of relationships between living organisms and environment. J. Braun Banquet, 1958, studied lake ecology. He trained two Indian ecologists R. Misra and G. S. Puri. Eugene P. Odom, 1913 to 2002, defined ecology as the science of ecosystems. Contributed to modern ecology through books Fundamentals of Ecology, Ecology, and Basic Ecology. Howard T. Odom, 1924 to 2002, co-founder of Ecosystem Ecology and Thermodynamics. R. A. Lindemann, 1942, gave the concept of ecological energetics. He traced energy relationships within organisms present in a lake community, gave the ecological models and concept of ecosystem ecology. F. H. Bowman, J. S. Olson, 1976, worked on cycling of nutrients and water. R. G. Weigert, 1976, studied ecological energetics. Harper, 1977, gave a book on unified study of animals and plants. Began and Mortimer, 1981, gave an update on population ecology. B. Boley and R. B. Cook, 1983, edited a volume on the major biogeochemical cycles and their interactions. In the Indian scenario, ancient classical epics and holy books such as Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vedas, Sanhitas, Brahmanas, and Aranyakas Upanishads provide a mention of basic ecological concepts. The Charak Sanhita and Susrita Sanhita, ancient Indian texts on medicine and surgery, mention the role of plants in treating human ailments. These records showed that people during ancient times had good understanding of plant and animal ecology. The basic concepts of ecology in India began with the study of forest vegetation by forest officers. The first comprehensive account was given by Professor Dudgeon from University of Allahabad. He discussed the role of Environment and succession of communities. Extensive ecological studies were carried out on grassland and forest communities in India. Professor R. Mishra, 1944-1945, studied ecology of aquatic plants and has been referred as father of Indian ecology. He gave methods of soil analysis and established Society for Tropical Ecology in 1958 and School of Ecology at Banaras Hindu University in 1960. As the studies advanced, the ecological concepts were linked to other disciplines of biology and science. With passage of time, ecological researches became more applied to human welfare. The studies on the effect of changes in the environmental conditions such as pollution on various types of vegetation and other components of environment were initiated. Agencies such as MAB, Man and Biosphere Program of UNESCO, and IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, Switzerland, that focused their work on biological basis of productivity and human welfare were formed. 1.4 Subdivisions of ecology. Ecology is divided into two types, namely animal and plant ecology. The division was based on the category of organisms studied. In modern system, ecology has been divided into two types, audiology and synecology. The division has been made on the basis of study of individual organism or a group of organism. Audiology is the study of individual species in relation to their environment. It includes the study of geographical distribution, taxonomic position, morphological characters, reproduction, life cycle and behavior of species with reference to ecological factors or environment. Synecology is the study of a population or community in relation to their environment. It comprises of community and ecosystem ecology. The composition and behavior of communities and their relationship to the environment are studied. It has also been broadly classified into two types depending upon the study of habitat. Times aquatic ecology. This includes study of living organisms present in fresh water, estuarine and marine habitat. Terrestrial ecology. This includes study of living organisms present in forest, grassland, cropland and desert habitats. Other subdivisions of ecology have been made on the basis of the aspect of ecology studied, Fig 1.1. These mainly include organism ecology. It is based on relationship of living organisms, animal and plants, to biotic and abiotic factors in their environment. Behavioral ecology. It is study of behavior of living organisms in relation to changing environmental conditions. Population ecology. It is the study of structure and dynamics, size, density, dispersion, demographics of population in relation to environment. Variations in growth and regulation of a population. This word, demonology, is inappropriate here. Its dictionary meaning is the study of demons or black magic. The word demography could be used. It is defined as the statistical characteristics of human populations are considered. Community ecology. It deals with structure and organization of a biological community with respect to environmental interactions. Factors such as structure, biodiversity, distribution, abundance of species and interactions, such as predation, herbivory, competition, parasitism, and mutualism are studied. Ecosystem ecology. It is the study of living organisms, animals, plants and microorganisms, along with the non-living components of their environment. Water, air and soil. The aspects such as nutrient and energy flows are Considered. Taxonomic ecology. It is study of different taxonomic groups of living organisms in relation to their environment. It includes microbial ecology, mammalian ecology, insect ecology, human ecology. Physiological ecology, ecophysiology. It is the study of changes in the physiological procedures, functions such as nutrition and metabolism in living organisms in response to environmental factors. Various adaptations in organisms under different ecological conditions are studied. Chemical ecology. It is study of adaptation of animals or insects with respect to production of chemical substances. Paleoecology. It is the study of organisms and their environment in the geological past. Cytocology. It deals with the study of cytological details of the species in relation to environmental conditions. Production ecology, ecological energetics. It is the study of energy conversion and flow through different organisms in relation to space and time. Ethology. It is the study of animal behavior in different environments. System ecology. It is analysis of structure and function of an ecosystem using applied mathematics or statistics. Habitat ecology. It is the study of living organisms in different habitats. Besides these, some other branches of ecology such as conservation ecology, production ecology, space ecology, radiation ecology has also been recognized. In an ecological system, various levels of biological organization, hierarchy, are noted. These range from individual organisms to the biosphere. Various units included in hierarchy include organisms, populations, communities, ecosystems, and the biome. Hierarchy is the system of grouping organisms at different levels, Fig 1, 2. The levels of organization connected with ecological grouping are called ecological hierarchy. An individual, organism, is the basic and distinct unit of ecological hierarchy. Individuals carry out all life processes and exchanges materials with the surroundings. 2. A population is a group of individuals of the same species living together in a common area at a particular time. 3. A community is the assembly of populations of different organisms in a particular environment. 4. The ecosystem is the association of living and non-living components present in a particular environment of an area. A biome is a group of terrestrial ecosystems present at the regional or subcontinental level. 6. The biosphere is the part of the earth where life is present. It comprises of atmosphere, air, lithosphere, land, and hydrosphere, water. Hierarchy of ecology. Biosphere, biome, ecosystem, community, population, species, individual. 1.5 Relationship of ecology with other disciplines of biology. Ecology is an integrated science. The interactions taking place within an ecological system is complex and involves various kinds of physical, chemical, and biological processes. The dependence of ecology on other branches of science makes it an interdisciplinary science. All the living organisms, i.e., plants, animals, and microorganisms, form an important component of ecological study. The survival, distribution, and abundance of these organisms are influenced by changes in physical factors such as temperature, light, rainfall, and altitude. Branches of science such as geology, hydrology, and meteorology influence the survival and distribution of biotic communities to a greater extent. The branches of biology such as zoology, botany, microbiology were integrated into ecology so that structural and biochemical processes involved in the adaptation of organisms to changing environmental conditions, can be studied. Interactions between living organisms is studied using various aspects such as morphology, physiology, genetics, taxonomy, molecular biology, developmental biology, ornithology, bacteriology, and entomology. Fig. 1.3 The relationship of ecology with other divisions of sciences can also be represented by model of cake, Fig. 1.4, in which various layers represent basic divisions of biology, taxonomy, genetics, molecular biology. The thicker slices represent higher divisions of biology such as botany, zoology, microbiology, while thinner slices represent divisions such as phycology, ornithology dealing with specific organisms. Each organism is studied considering various aspects such as morphology, genetics, evolution, physiology, developmental biology, molecular biology, etc. Fig. 1.3 Interrelationship of ecology with other disciplines of science and biology. Fig. 1.4 The layered biological cake showing relationship of ecology with other disciplines of biology. 1.6 Basics of ecology. 1.6.1 Environment. Each living organism depends on its surroundings for survival and sustenance. Environment provides food, energy, water, oxygen, shelter, and other necessities to living organisms. The total of all of the surroundings air, water, land, vegetation that influence the existence of living beings is referred to as environment. Environment is broadly classified into two types: natural and man-made. Components of environment. Environment consists of two components: times living or biotic, times non-living or abiotic. Biotic components. All the living components are referred as biotic components. These include plants, animals, and microorganisms. Abiotic components. All non-living factors are called as abiotic components. These include water, air, soil, land, and physical factors such as light and temperature. External and internal environment. Organisms possess an internal environment which is enclosed by outer body surface. The body surface acts an exchange barrier between external and internal environment. In single-celled organisms, exchange of materials is carried out directly with the external environment. Fig. 1.5. Internal environment is relatively more stable as compared to the external environment. 1.6.2 Biosphere. The part zone layer of Earth where life exists is referred as biosphere, ecosphere. The global ecological system is composed of all living beings and elements of lithosphere, rock, hydrosphere, water, and atmosphere, air. It is a closed self-regulating system. It regarded as the sum of all ecosystem. The biosphere is supposed to have evolved from the process of biogenesis, life created from living matter, around 3.5 billion years ago. The biosphere extends from 11,000 meters below sea level to 15,000 meters above it. The concept of term biosphere was given by English geologist Eduard Suess, 1831 to 1914, and Russian physicist Vladimir I. Vernadsky, 1863 to 1945. Hydrosphere, water. Water constitutes around 70% of the Earth's surface. It includes water resources such as oceans, seas, rivers, lakes, streams, ponds, glaciers, polar ice caps, and groundwater. About 97% water is present in oceans and seas, 2% in ice caps, and the remaining 1% as fresh water. Lithosphere, land. It is the solid component or the hard surface, crust, of Earth. It consists of three layers: crust, mantle, and core. The uppermost part consists of weathered rocks, minerals, and organic matter, and is known as soil. The mantle and core form the inner layer of lithosphere. Atmosphere, air. It consists of a complex mixture of gases, water vapor, and particulate matter. This layer sustains life on Earth by such as oxygen and carbon dioxide essential for photosynthesis and respiration in living organisms. Atmosphere is divided into different zones such as troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, magnetosphere, depending upon temperature gradients. 1.6.3 Ecosystem. An ecosystem is an ecological unit composed of living and non-living things. The living or biotic components interact with non-living or abiotic components of the environment and maintain the equilibrium in the environment. Arthur Tansley, 1935, proposed the term ecosystem and defined it as interaction of all living and non-living components of the environment. Components of the ecosystem. A. Abiotic components. These include the non-living or physicochemical factors. They support the biotic components. They restrict the growth, number, and diversity of the population of a species and hence called as limiting factors. These components vary from one ecosystem to another. These factors are classified broadly under three categories. Climatic factors. These include physical factors such as light, temperature, wind, humidity. Edaphic factors. These include soil, its structure and properties. Parameters such as soil type, soil profile, organic matter, minerals, soil and soil organisms are included in it. Physical factors. These include water, air. Materials. It includes inorganic components such as carbon, sulfur, nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. All these elements circulate in different components of ecosystem via biogeochemical cycles. The organic components of an ecosystem are proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and amino acids. These are synthesized by biota, flora and fauna of an ecosystem. B. Biotic components. Biotic components are the living components of the ecosystem, Fig. 1.7. These include plants, animals, and microorganisms. They act as autotrophs, heterotrophs, and saprotrophs. They have a direct or indirect influence on other organisms present in an ecosystem. Producers, autotrophs. They are autotrophic in nature, i.e., convert energy procured from sun into food. They include photosynthetic organisms. They are called as producers, transducers, or converters. In terrestrial ecosystems, producers are green plants. In the aquatic ecosystems, the floating plants, referred as phytoplankton, and rooted plants, called macrophytes, are the main producers. Freshwater and marine ecosystems consist of algae as the dominant producers. The photosynthetic plants bear chlorophyll and synthesize a high-energy complex organic compound, or food, from the inorganic raw materials utilizing sunlight through a process called photosynthesis. Consumers. They are heterotrophic organisms. They eat food produced by autotrophs. Herbivores take their food directly from the producers, i.e., they eat plants, hence also referred as primary consumers. Carnivores feed on animals, hence referred as secondary consumers. Tertiary or quaternary consumers include organisms that feed on secondary carnivores. Omnivores. mainly include humans that feed on both plants and animals. Decomposers, they include microorganisms such as bacteria and fungi. They are also referred as saprotrophs or reducers. Scavengers, detritivores and decomposers feed on dead decaying matter and produce organic constituents. The breakdown of non-living organic matter into inorganic matter occurs via digestive enzymes secreted by microorganisms. In the process of conversion, recycling of the essential nutrients takes place. The remaining substances are added as minerals in substratum through the process of mineralization. In an ecosystem, various components interact with each other. Biotic components depend on abiotic components for their survival. Abiotic components such as soil get enriched by organic matter added after decay and decomposition carried out by microbes or saprotrophs. At functional level of an ecosystem, primary producers, plants, harvest energy from the sun through the process called photosynthesis. This energy is transferred from plants to other organisms, i.e., consumers, which include both herbivores and carnivores, Fig 1.8. Later on, energy gets transferred to fungi and bacteria via death, decay and decomposition process. There is a continuous flow of nutrients and energy in an ecosystem. The organic constituents produced after decomposition can again be used by producers. Fig. 1.7 Components of an ecosystem. Types of ecosystem. Ecosystems are broadly classified as times natural. These ecosystems develop naturally without interference of human beings. Example: forests, lakes, deserts. Artificial or man-made, these ecosystems are developed by humans after modification of natural ecosystems. Example: forests were transformed in crop fields, smart cities, gardens and dams. Fig 1.9. Fig. 1.8. Energy and nutrient flow through various biotic components of an ecosystem. Ecosystems have also been classified into two types depending upon the size. Times microecosystems, small ecosystem. Example: drop of water. Times macroecosystem, big ecosystem. Example: Caribbean Sea, mountain. Range of ants. 1.6.4 Population. A population is group of individuals of the same species present within a specific area at a particular time. It can also be defined as group of similar individuals of the same species capable of interbreeding among themselves. Growth, survival, and movement spread of population are regulated by various factors. Changes in the physical factors significantly alter the size of the population and affect the interactions between various populations. Populations of the same species that can interbreed are referred as metpopulations. The characteristics of population are represented by many attributes. These mainly include 1. Numerical attributes. 2. Structural attributes. Numerical attributes. This includes parameters such as natality, birth rate, mortality, death rate, and density. These are given in figures. Density: it is the number of individuals of a population present per unit area. Natality, birth rate: it is rate at which numbers of individuals are added to a population by birth over the specified time. Mortality: rate at which the individuals are lost from a population by death. Dispersal: rate at which individuals of a population migrate from an area. Distribution: it is the total area of occurrence of a population. Abundance: it is the number of individuals within a particular population. Structural attributes. This includes parameters such as age, distribution, dispersion, population growth. Within any population, individuals are born and individuals die. If there are more individuals being born than dying, the population grows in size, while if more individuals are dying than being born, the population shrinks. Movement of individuals also affects the size of the population. Individuals enter or leave a population. This is referred as immigration and emigration. The population size changes with time. The growth rate of population is calculated, given, delete, by the equation dn dt is equal to Rn, where R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase in population. It is the difference between birth and death rate of the population. N is the size of the population. The change in the size of the population is noted at time t. The changes in population are explained by the exponential growth model. When resources are unlimited, populations exhibit exponential growth, resulting in a J-shaped curve. This means that size of population goes on increasing and after some time becomes constant. Maximum size of population that environment can sustain support at a particular time is known as carrying capacity. The growth rate of population slows down when it reaches the carrying capacity. When resources are limited, population exhibits logistic growth. In logistic growth, population growth decreases as the resources get used, limited, and it levels off at carrying capacity, resulting in a S-shaped curve. Figure 1.10, J and S-shaped population growth curve. Other properties studied for population include measurement of dimensions such as population density, abundance, or size. In a population, factors such as gender, age, developmental stage, and size are considered as important. The rate of change of population growth and distribution of individuals is referred as study of dynamics. Biological and non-biological, environmental factors influence population size. Biological factors include various types of interactions within the species. Environmental variables, non-biological factors, such as temperature, precipitation, disturbance, population, disturbance, pollution, salinity, and pH also play an important role in regulating population size. 1.6.5 Community. Community represents the population of species living and interacting in an area at a particular time. Delete, when several populations share a common habitat, resources, and interact among themselves, they develop into a community, biocoenosis. Community is, therefore, an assemblage of populations of two or more species occupying the same geographical area at a particular time. All the organisms, microorganisms, plants and animals share a common habitat and interact among themselves. The organisms of a community usually exhibit feeding, trophic, relationships among themselves. Ecological communities can differ in terms of the types and numbers of species they contain. This is because environmental conditions influence the composition of a community to a great extent. For example, in Arctic zone communities, very few species are present, while in some tropical rainforests, a large, huge, number of species are present in a community. Each community exhibits a number of characteristics such as diversity, density, dominance, composition, and stratification. The transitional zone between two or more communities is called ecotone. Community ecology or synecology includes the study of the interactions between species and communities on spatial and temporal scales. The parameters such as distribution, structure, abundance, demography, and interactions between populations are considered. The properties such as species richness, productivity, and succession are studied. Structure of community. In a community, The number of species and size of population varies. The community can be small, having a single species, or large, comprising of several species. The structure of a community is the result of many interacting factors, both abiotic, non-living, and biotic, living organism related. Community structure is influenced by many factors, including abiotic factors, species interactions, level of disturbance, and chance events. Environmental factors determine the characteristic of the community and pattern of organization of members in the community. The organization of a biological community with respect to ecological interactions is referred to as community structure. A community's structure can be described by its species richness and species diversity. Species richness is the number of different species present in a community. Communities with the highest species richness are found in areas near the equator because of warm temperatures, plenty of rainfall, and less seasonal variations. Communities with the lowest species richness lie near the poles because of cold, dry climate. Other factor that affects species richness is the latitude. Species richness is generally highest in tropical latitudes but decreases significantly as we move towards the poles. Dominance in each community, few species are present in greater numbers. These are called dominant species. They modify the habitat and greatly influence the growth of other species present in the community to a great extent. Diversity, it is the number of species, richness, and their occurrence or abundance, evenness. The greater is number of species and their distribution, more is the species diversity. Species diversity is measured in terms of number of different species in the community, species richness, and their relative abundances, species evenness. Larger numbers of species and more abundance of species lead to higher species diversity. Example A. Forest community with 0 different kinds of trees has greater species diversity than a forest community with only 555 kinds of trees. Diversity is also related to the stability of the community. Communities with high species diversity are more stable. This is because many alternate pathways are available to enable the individuals to obtain energy and nutrients. In an area with high species diversity, if one of the species disappears, its function can be taken over by the other relatively close species. Dependence in a community, there are some species which depend upon the dominant species for their survival. Example, lower plants such as bryophytes, thallophytes are dependent on the shade and moisture conditions provided by dominant species. In a community, processes such as energy flow and matter cycling take place. Energy flows via feeding relationships. The food energy gets transferred through different biotic components in a chain-like manner referred to as the food chain. Food chains collectively form a food web. Solar energy absorbed by producers is converted to food and transferred to consumers. Functioning of an organism in an ecosystem is referred as ecological niche. The community dynamics change with time. This dynamic nature is reflected in the succession of organisms in a habitat. A series of changes results in the development of a relatively stable community, which maintains its structure in a particular area. Such a stable and mature community is called a climax community. The communities at various stages of succession are called seral communities. The community changes are gradual. The communities reach equilibrium, and maintain a dynamic balance with the environmental changes. In course of time, the process of change in communities and their environment at a place in the course of time is called ecological succession. Foundation and keystone species. Some species have strong impact on community structure and play a vital role in maintaining the balance of the community. These species include foundation and keystone species. A foundation species plays a unique, essential role in a community as it supports the other organisms. Kelps, brown algae, are foundation species that form the basis of the kelp forests in the sea at the coast of California. They create environments for survival of other organisms that make the forest community. The corals of a coral reef are another foundation species. The exoskeletons of living and dead coral make up most of the reef structure, which protects other species from waves and ocean currents. A species that has a vast effect on community structure relative to their biomass or abundance is referred as a keystone species. A sharp reduction in diversity or collapse structure commonly occurs when this species is removed from the community. Keystone species belongs to higher trophic levels, top predators, and tends to modify their environment. The intertidal starfish Pisaster ochraceus, sea star, found in the northwestern United States, is an ideal example of a keystone species. If these are removed from the intertidal zone, populations of their prey, mussels, increase, altering the species composition of the community greatly and reducing species diversity sharply. The mussel population expands and almost replaces the other species. When the sea stars are present, many species of barnacles and algae were found in the low part of the intertidal zone. The loss of diversity occurred because mussels' population increased, removing the other species. The sea stars keep a check at the mussels' population. Interactions in a community. Living organisms show different types of interactions which can be harmful or beneficial to the organisms. These interactions are essential for the survival, growth, reproduction, and continuance of the species. Species interact in different ways in a community. Interactions can be intraspecific, i.e., between same species, or interspecific, i.e., between different species. Intraspecific interactions include colonization, aggregation, while neutralism, competition, and prey-predator relationships are interspecific. The other types of interactions reported in a community include competition, predation, parasitism, mutualism, commensalism, etc. Competition. Species present within a community compete with each other for resources. This is considered to be an important limiting factor of growth of population. The competition can be of two types. Interspecific, if competition occurs between the individuals of different species. Intraspecific, if competition occurs between the individuals of same species. Predation. It is the killing of an individual of another species for food. The predator species, an animal that kills and eats other animals, kills or harms the prey species, animals killed and eaten by other animals. Some predators kill their prey before eating them, while some other act as parasites and feed on prey when alive. Example: feeding of herbivores on plants, grazing cow. Predation affects the population size of predators and prey. Mutualism. It is a type of interaction in which both the species get benefited. Example of such association is symbiosis. Symbiosis is a close, prolonged association between two or more different organisms of different species that benefit each other. Examples: Rhizobium bacteria growing in root nodules of legumes. Insects pollinating the flowers of angiosperms. Commensalism, a type of relationship among organisms in which one organism benefits while the other organism is neither benefited nor harmed. The organism that benefited is called the commensal, while the other organism that is neither benefited nor harmed is called the host. Example: in epiphytes, trees support plants such as orchids which get benefited but trees are not harmed. Opposite of commensalism is amensalism, an interspecific relationship in which a product of one organism has a negative effect on another organism. Parasitism. Parasitism is an interaction in which one species lives on inside the body of the other species, serving as a host, and depends upon it for its food requirements. The organism which is dependent is called as parasite. Example: Cuscuta absorbs nutrients from the host plants through specialized structures called hostoria. Classification of communities. Depending on the conditions of their existence, plant communities have been divided into different groups. Hydrophytic plant communities living in water, aquatic habitats. Mesophytic plant communities living in moist soil habitat. Xerophytic plant communities living in dry or arid habitat. Heliophytic communities growing on conditions of abundant light. Cyophytic communities growing in shade. Depending upon the location habitat of their growth, they have also been designated as desert communities, mountain communities, and estuarine communities. 1.7 Summary. Times ecology is the study of relationships of living organisms and their environment. Times ecology is interconnected with other disciplines of biology. Times ecology has two main subdivisions: autoecology, study of individuals or populations of a single species with respect to their environment, and synecology, study of interacting populations of different species. Times environment or surroundings are composed of various living, biotic, and non-living, abiotic factors that influences the organism's growth and survival. Times the part of Earth where life exists is referred as biosphere, ecosphere. It is composed of all living beings and elements of lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. Times population is a group of individuals of same species capable of interbreeding. The rate of population growth is characterized by attributes such as natality, birth date, mortality, death rate, density, abundance, and dispersal. Depending upon the availability of resources, population growth can be exponential of logistic. Times ecosystem is the interaction of non-living, abiotic, and living, biotic components with the environment. It can be natural or man-made. Times community is the assemblage of several populations of different species present in a particular area. Community attributes consist of dominance, diversity, interactions, and trophic structure. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel